Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Arrowhead Guys Football School. I'm Tony Sommer.
And I'm Peter Mitko.
So, what we're doing is just going through uh, the all 22 of just Chiefs games, basically. And the reason this started is because I wanted to expand my knowledge of the X's and O's of football. And since Peter is a football expert, I asked him to help me, and he said yeah. So we did a uh, football learning session, and afterwards we were kind of talking. And we were like, "Oh, this would actually make really good content for the Arrowhead Guys YouTube channel." So the next time we did it, we decided to record it, and it was a really good session. But I forgot to hit the record button, so we didn't get to post that one. So this time I have double checked that we are indeed recording, and it even says on Mitko's end that we're recording, on Peter's end that we're recording. And so this should be good. So since we had already talked about it a little bit before with our recording, this is the start of the third drive for the Texans in the Chiefs-Texans game in the season opener for 2020. And so let's go ahead and see what's going on.
I need you to share your screen with me, though.
That would be important.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. We don't need that. We need this. Okay. So this is 1st and 10. This is the start of the second quarter, the Texans' third drive. The first thing I like to do is kind of see what the coverage looks like, even though it can change after the snap. So right now it kind of looks like it might be cover two because there's 2 safeties here. And then kind of see if they're indicating man or zone, although that can also change. And it kind of looks, and this is where Peter's going to correct me, kind of looks.
Tony, I think too, since we kind of missed those first 2 recordings, I think it's important to kind of just real quickly go over for our viewers here on the difference between kind of like man and zone coverage.
Okay.
With man coverage, it simply means that a player, and again, I'm sorry if this is going back a bit for some people, but just to make sure everyone's on the same page, that man coverage means that it's literally man on man. A cornerback or a defensive back is playing coverage on one person. That's their role, is just to cover that one person.
Yeah. So
Zone coverage.
that if it was man.
Correct. Zone coverage, on the other hand, is dividing up areas of the field. And I say it's it gets a little more complicated than that. But it's dividing up areas of the field for the defensive players to cover. So if a person goes into their zone, then they have that person to cover. So for instance, as Tony was talking about, cover 2, you have 2 high safeties back there covering the deeper areas where you have players underneath covering the underneath zones. The reason why there's typically less players farther back is because they can cover more ground, and that's because it takes more time for the ball to get further down the field. So that's just a basic intro to kind of zone coverage versus man coverage, and we'll get a little bit more into that as well.
And by cover 2, cover whatever means how many safeties are back. So this would be cover 2 if 2 safeties are back. Cover 1 if there's 1 safety back. Cover 0 if there's 0. Could be cover 3, and they don't really have to be safeties. They could be anybody who goes back. Like if he comes back and they like play 3 here, then that would be cover 3. So just kind of looking at this, my impression is that it might be zone just because they're kind of looking at the quarterback, which is kind of an indicator of zone, although it could be either way, really. Just kind of looking at the screenshot.
We'll see. As you see, Ward drop down and Sorensen drop up. Spagnuolo likes to do this a lot, and he'll show the coverage, but he'll switch the players that are in those roles as well.
So
So
what
a
happened was,
safety drift up and a cornerback drift back.
yeah. So this is Sorensen. He came up. This is Snead or Ward. Who is it?
Ward there, it looks like.
Ward. He came back. So these guys are kind of switching roles. And then as we saw, this guy kind of came in, and if it's man because he's covering him, he would come over here as well. But it kind of looked like zone because he kind of just scooched over, he scooched over, he scooched over, he scooched over.
Although it's important to note, sometimes players will do that and they're just switching up who they have in man coverage.
So
that's definitely a zone coverage for sure there. And you can tell by the way that Sorensen plays up. What Spagnola's doing here is he's trying to change the timing of route, and that's why players will switch back and forth, is because in zone coverage, you'll have open windows where players can go to, but that's assuming a certain player is in a certain spot. Right here is the key where you can tell that it's a zone coverage as Sorensen, instead of staying on his man, passes him off to the next area of zone.
yeah, because this guy's kind of running like this, and Sorensen here is just kind of sitting here.
Correct.
And then so these guys they kind of bid up because of the run, but their zones would be kind of like here-ish, and then he might be man, but his zone would be here, and then Sorensen's zone would be here.
That's right.
And then, so that's kind of what play action does, is that because those linebackers are up, this guy, this area right here is open, so Watson is able to just throw it over everybody's head, and he's kind of wide open.
It's a good play design, and they must have had a tell kind of on what the Chiefs are doing with their switch off. Watson recognizes that and is able to find that open area that we talked about when the switching of players. Again, if Ward had been there, he would have not had that opening because Sorensen would have been cutting down pretty immediately in that zone area. If it had been man, again, his underneath route, the wide receiver that crossed across, would have more likely been open. A lot of times, concepts, and we talked about this a little bit last time, but I'll go over it again. You'll often hear either a pick play or a rub route. And really, they're just similar terminology for something similar. Defensive backs will call them pick plays, as it's
pick
basically...
plays are technically not allowed.
Correct. So a lot of times, and you'll see Andy Reid do this a lot, is the wide receivers will run routes that naturally give congestion to where coverage is supposed to be. So say we pretend that the outside cornerback over there was in man coverage on the other side there.
On this side?
Yeah, if he had been in man coverage, he would have been following the wide receiver that had come across the backfield. And this natural movement here would create natural congestion. The difference between a rub route and a pick play is the rub route, the wide receiver runs his design route, and it just naturally kind of causes the defender to get in the way. Versus the pick play, where the wide receiver will jump out of his route to quote-unquote pick, just like in a basketball game, pick the defensive back away.
So you think this play, that had it been man, because really these rub routes or pick plays or whatever are designed against man, because in zone you just pass them off.
Correct.
So this play, even though they're running zone, it's really designed to be against man.
That's right. And I think that Watson did a very good job of reading the switch between Ward and Sorensen in their position. They probably did that motion a little bit too early, and he knew where to go to the ball with it.
So that's another thing I kind of like to ask Peter is, given kind of the play that's called on both sides, why was the play successful or why was the play unsuccessful? In this case, the play was successful for the Texans. They got 9 or 10 yards out of it. And so would you say that, so if you had to give a reason for why, well, I guess they got 19 yards out of it. So if you had to say like why was this play successful for the Texans? Um, what other than like, well, this is, they're playing zone or man. Like, what could the Chiefs have done better to prevent this? Or did the Texans do something really well to um, pick up this big play?
Well, there's a few different things I think that could have been done. I think the Chiefs linebackers bit up a little bit too hard on that play. Again, it's hard to say because it's a millisecond difference between jumping too quickly and not jumping far enough. But you would think that. The other thing too is, again, it is just the design. I think that the switch off could have come a little bit later on, basically right at the snap, and Watson probably wouldn't have made that read. Although rewatching the play again, if you watch Watson here and the way he handles the ball carrier, it may have been a read option as well. So a read option is basically the defender. Let's freeze it here. No, I think
yeah, millisecond before. Yeah, here.
Millisecond before. So looking at it again, I don't believe it would be a read option, and I'll tell you why. But I'll explain the read option first, so we kind of understand. And the read option in this moment right here, the quarterback is reading whether his outside wide receiver, so the one that actually caught the pass there, has inside leverage on the cornerback, which means if his shoulder pads are on the inside of the DB's shoulder pads, basically. And in that instance, he throws it. Mahomes and Hill run this concept consistently, and you see it, and we've seen it previously in the game with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as well as the running back. If he doesn't have inside positioning, then he just hands the ball off, and they hope for a shorter gain there, or just on the ground. But basically, it's an idea of picking up a free chunk yardage there. The reason why I don't believe this is, and I believe it was more that original concept we talked about, is because of where the read's at right here. Watson really isn't reading his eyes. You can kind of tell he's reading the linebackers. He's not reading Sorensen. And also the linebacker, or the wide receiver, does not have that inside shoulder on Sorensen. So I believe this is more of a design play for that wide receiver cutting across the field. And Watson took the switch instead and was able to capitalize off of that.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next play unless you have anything else to say.
Nope, that's about it.
Another 1st and 10. So hold on. Oh, stop here. You're going too fast for me. So right now it kind of looks like a cover 1 because we have Thornhill right there, and he's the only one back there. So let's see what that motion is to see.
So I would also indicate the coverage here is actually man with a single high safety. And the reason for that is the way that you see the linebackers react to 3 out wide. Because originally Thornhill was high up above that way, and while he's covering more so that side, if you watch the defensive right linebacker, he drifts more so to coverage, like he has that slot wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And when they drift back, you see them kind of just switch back in. So now you're passing off your, again, how I mentioned earlier, instead of switching and covering, they're switching who they have in man.
So yeah, it'd be here, and then
Running back.
Would have to run back. Let's see what happens. Ryan play picks up 4 yards.
And let's watch this from if we can. Yeah. It's hard to, running plays are hard to tell from the all-22 angle, although you can see a little bit and get an idea. When you see that behind the line angle, it gives us a lot better idea. I think The linebackers got caught watching the wide receiver. So 54 right now has the wide receiver because he's crossing the face of the center as the ball's hiked. So now that's his responsibility. So he's following him instead of the running back.
Yeah, you can kind of see him go that way.
And he's got the placement still, though. However, 53's eyes are also in the backfield and got kind of caught there as well. But still makes a tackle, so it's a good play by 54.
53 there.
I believe I can never remember which one's Hitchens and which one's Wilson.
Looks like 53 is Hitchens.
So he's still following that, and he gets caught on the trap block there. The pulling guard.
So this is a somewhat successful run play. So I guess, so to that question of
how many yards was it?
It was 5 yards.
So it's kind of sort of a successful run play, and here's the reasoning behind that. And I'll point to Navy as a example. Navy runs the triple option in college, and all they do is run the ball. One of their big problems is they lose yardage on one of those runs or get 1 to 2 yardage on those runs, and they get in a hole that they have to fight to get out of. Was this a successful run? I guess 5 yards is always good to pick up. However, it's not like and this is why people kind of say the pass was more important than the run. To have a successful running attack in this instance, you have to have 3 good runs in a row, and you can't have a negative, or 2 good runs in a row without a negative. So it's a mildly successful. I think everyone did their job. I think that's Wilson. Kind of lost a step just a little bit, which caused, just due to the pulling guard, he got caught a little bit in traffic. Otherwise, it was done pretty well.
It's just kind of an average play, really, that both sides kind of did their jobs and it just kind of have an average result.
Which is what you get in a lot of run plays.
Yeah.
Unless you talk about like Kyle Shanahan's run offense.
All right. This is the next play.
Playing second down, they got, you said 5 on that one? 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, it was officially 4. So cover 2-ish. Yeah, cover 2. Kind of looks kind of like man, a little. It's hard to tell from just still images. They don't.
And you see,
this is kind of what I was saying before, that you don't really know, because before it looked like cover 2, but now, because I think this is Sorensen, he started back here and he's coming down now. So now it looks like just cover 1 back here.
That's right. And what I would like to start seeing Spagnuolo do a bit more is I think teams get used to this. The first look you give us isn't the correct look, and somebody's coming down or somebody's coming across. I would like to see fakes where Sorensen comes across a bit more, comes down a bit more, and then pedals back into his spot to kind of try to throw the quarterbacks off a bit more. And he does that occasionally. I just would like to see it a bit more to kind of throw off what they're doing. So now Sorensen's basically an outside linebacker here.
Yeah.
And it's man coverage, as you see that the way that they kind of attack and what goes on here. I was kind of caught watching not the backfield, but the wide receivers.
Yeah. So man. And then he's kind of in a zone.
Sorensen is flip-flop there. The linebacker.
It's here.
Sorensen has him, and yeah, just like that. Yep. So what we're actually looking at here too, and this is a good kind of opportunity to show why it's zone or man coverage is typically a mix between man and zone. This is what they refer to as a single high safety. So it's man coverage underneath with the safety up top, kind of covering that zone in the back, helping out where he's needed at. Underneath in the linebacker position, he's playing what we call a robber position. It kind of helps with hook routes or curl routes that cut across the zone. Basically gives inside leverage to the man coverage in the slot. So you got basically two players playing areas of zone and everybody else playing man coverage.
Yeah, these two have zone, everybody else is man. All right,
And Sorensen gets beat. However, he recovers nicely.
let's kind of rewind it a bit. So Sorensen is right here. So let's play it again.
And you see that natural kind of...
Yeah, because you can see right here
where it causes that congestion and Sorensen loses the step. If Watson throws it here, it's probably a nice pickup, although not a giant one. Yeah. He holds on the ball a little bit more, I guess hoping to see somebody beat, whether he's made it to his progression there or not.
Well, it kind of looks like he's looking right at him right here. So he's kind of just, I mean, it's second down, so this is kind of the down where if you're going to gamble, this is when you want to do it. And then everybody else is just kind of covered before.
Jones makes a nice move on the inside. Yeah, Sorensen makes a nice recovery. It's hard to tell from that angle. He might have gotten some jersey there. But the Chiefs kind of are known for being a little bit more physical at the line of scrimmage, which normally the NFL is okay with in that like first 5 yards.
Except for the Super Bowl. Enough whining.
Which again was atrocious. It made me very, very angry to watch, and not just as a Chiefs fan, just as a football fan in general. But watch this move by Chris Jones. Just pretends to go with the power move, and then just kind of does a little bit of a swim move on him. You see Clark actually get his face mask grabbed too.
So here's Jones. Here's Frank Clark. Right.
Yeah. So they leave Chris Jones one-on-one, which is always a mistake. And yeah, you can kind of see there. There's some hand fighting between that, but Clark staying on the outside is a good way to kind of keep Watson from escaping. He contained there as well. A lot of Spagnuolo's inside linemen's duties are contained to keep quarterbacks from outside. It's not just about rushing the passer. Their first goal is always to rush the passer in most instances, but it's also about recognizing where the play is and where it's developing and not losing sight of that. It's something I don't think Frank Clark gets enough credit for. And I know a lot of people aren't happy with his contract, and statistically and even field play haven't really lived up to that. But there's a lot of that contain, and him and Chris Jones, I've seen it time and time again, have a very good understanding of how to play with each other. That almost came out wrong. How to feed off of each other and recognize what one's doing and pull either linemen or quarterbacks into a certain direction. There was another plan I can't remember. I think Seth Kaiser posted it. And basically, Chris Jones was able to be left one-on-one because even though Clark, and I'm pretty sure he had the outside attack, so he was supposed to go around on that one, notices the guard looking his way, and so he makes an inside move, even though he could have gotten around the tackle, which pulled the guard that way and allowed Jones to work in from the inside. Again, that's on display. I'm just kind of giving everybody a sense.
So in this other play, Clark kind of helped set up the sack for Chris Jones. So even though it didn't count statistically, he still contributed.
His pass rush move there wasn't great. He did not sell it at all. So to go back just a little bit, Frank Clark didn't. So if you go ahead there and watch, so that left tackle isn't worried at all about him breaking outside and sees him coming in. He starts his outside move way too early, and then cuts inside and realizes when he doesn't get that leverage, he doesn't get that beat, he just starts hand fighting. But he also sees, so right there, he cuts way too early on that and fakes outside too soon. So he starts hand fighting here. Nadi's double teamed in the middle. You have that guard that's kind of helping out both sides. So right here, he forces himself inside that way so that it kind of doesn't allow an escape or a bounce around outside for Watson. It was a poor pass rush move that he ended up helping Jones at to get the sack. But mostly that was just a remarkable one-on-one for Jones.
This is actually Zach Bolton, I think, ex-Chief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He fakes the power and then lets Fulton's own momentum when he's going power kind of fall forward and does a swim move, and it's really, really pretty move.
Chris Jones is pretty good.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of a pull.
You don't need to watch a lot of film to get that one.
Okay. And so I think that answers my question of what went wrong on the play. Basically, Chris Jones.
Yep. And good coverage
Also,
on the back end too.
Watson kind of deciding not to throw it quick there.
And it was a good play call switching to man that moment too, because I don't think Watson was expecting that at all. Again, how much the Chiefs like to drop into their zone coverage.
All right, 3rd and 10. A bit of confusion, but kind of a cover 2-ish or cover 1 kind of that kind of looks like Matthew maybe. Whoever this is.
Yeah, that's Matthew. You can tell by the yellow gloves.
Okay, so yeah, Matthew. He could kind of go either way. Thornhill probably is kind of deep, but he's kind of right because it's 3rd down. There's the first down line.
And we talked about this. Teams often like to basically design their 3rd and long coverage to play at the sticks, which means that they're not really worried about teams going over the top, but basically either to the sticks or ahead of that. And I mentioned earlier, which is why Wasp is such a successful play, because it basically, Mahomes said, I don't care that it's 3rd down and 15. I'm going to throw it 3rd and 30 yards down the field, whatever. We're going to go farther, so all the coverage was set lower. But anyway, so you got your 2 safeties again. And I've noticed this more and more as we watch film. Spagnuolo likes to play 1 safety high and 1 safety medium depth as well. Again, it allows them to kind of manipulate where players are replacing other players at. And as Spagnuolo likes to do, he brings the coverage. Or he brings the, not the coverage, the pass rush.
Well, I mean, this was like a screen, you could tell.
I think it was a fake screen.
You think so?
Watson actually did it well. Watson fumbles at first and panics with the pressure. And then, so you see that, and it's supposed to be a fake screen, a fake jump.
Yeah, he's kind of faking it over here. And then it seems like he faked it over here and then, like, probably a screen to him, probably.
Let's see. I'm kind of curious. Well, we can watch the blockers and see what they do.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It was a screen, and that was a good play by
because
Clark.
This guy's kind of coming out. That's kind of why there's pressure. They're kind of coming, and so there's supposed to be somebody here, just kind of didn't really.
Yeah, so he knows, and Watson knows he can't throw the ball at this point, so that's why he takes off running with it. Is because he has linemen down the field.
And it's a good decision, especially for somebody that's athletic as Watson, even though he didn't get it. I mean, he got, considering how dead in the water that play was, it wasn't.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning again, because I think it was Clark, but without looking at the exact lineup, I'm not sure. This is a good way to break up a wide receiver screen. Yeah, it's Clark.
Yeah,
right there. Clark always wears his long sleeves, typically the same color, typically red or green when he was in Seattle. So watch what he does here. He's able to identify what's going on. He's doing his pass rush. He sees that. He jumps into the passing lane.
That way as well.
So they kind of fake that, and I think it was supposed to be a fake screen and then back to him again.
So fake this way, look this way, and then back to him.
Mm-hmm.
But
so they hopefully leave him alone. Because if you look at it by that time, if Clark starts rushing the quarterback at this point, Again, it's hard to tell. It could have been that the play just broke down.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
these guys kind of like give up, so
Yeah.
I feel like it should have.
It's one of
Not,
those things where I'm trying to figure out what the play design was. Go back one more time because I'm curious now. I thought that Clark had a good beat on it, and I might have been mistaken there. Let's see here. Wonder if it was designed for the running back.
yeah, I think it was. I think it was supposed to go to him right there. I mean, I don't know what else they could have been doing here. Oh, he's supposed to come out like, see, he's kind of coming out here, and then
Sorensen does a good job of recognizing it.
yeah.
Well,
So, well, Sorensen's right here. It's just, it's just like,
yeah,
uh,
because if he, yeah, yep, it was supposed to be a little dish over there. It was poorly executed, and Sorensen did a good job of just getting in the running back's way too.
yeah, just kind of the Texans messed it up, and Sorensen had okay eyes on it. All right. We're not going to cover the punts.
Oh. Actually, something I learned when watching punts was that I always assumed it was the normal linemen that are in, but typically it's like safeties and stuff. It is super strange. It's like when the Chiefs punt, it's like Armani Watts is like the right guard.
Oh my
And they
gosh.
do that because, again, they want them to get down the field as quickly as possible. And you basically just need to get in the way for blocking.
That's
Um,
that's a good point because on coverage, guard or whatever wouldn't be all that good. It's interesting. The thing about football historically is just kind of interesting like that. Like, okay, we're gonna have a play where you kick the ball down the field and now everybody has to cover. You have to block for a bit and then now you have to cover. And it's like, oh, who do you have? You have to figure out who's the best person for that is. Okay. So this kind of looks like cover one. Although he could maybe potentially go deep if he kind of came out here. Um, well, this is Hill. And one thing we've kind of realized, which is not a shock to anybody, is that they are super scared of Tyreek Hill because they always give him just a ton of space here.
You can see how the defensive backs are on the outside with Kelsey and I believe that's Kelsey and Watkins, and then Hill on the other side. Like they're right up on the line of scrimmage with Watkins, and then Hill. They're like, let's give at least a 5-yard cushion. Normally you'll see it at 10, which is absolutely remarkable because it's like here's a free 7 yards.
Kelsey moving in. So okay, so since this guy here, he was over here and kind of went like this would indicate man because he's following Kelsey here.
So you have your single high safety coverage, again, which is typically the terminology for a safety in the back playing zone and then everyone up front playing man.
All right, let's see what happens. Play action.
It looks like it's a zone coverage, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this guy's kind of coming back, so it's almost like cover two. And then this guy's kind of here, ish, something like that.
Yeah. Interesting kind of what they're doing there. I'm trying to think. Let's play it a little bit more and see where. Yeah. Because you can tell it's, and I had an inkling of maybe it was still man coverage, but the way it happened,
looks like
a player broke from his zone to cover a different player as they switched. So number 3 or 4 did.
So you think maybe there's a little bit miscommunication on the defensive?
No. So if you watch the linebacker that is now on where Hill is at, basically, I was wondering if maybe he was supposed to be on the tight end to the right, as he came down. But the way that 21 moves back and then he passes Hill off to him, would indicate. Because see, like I was like, okay, maybe it's man with too high safety, but he passes him off and cuts down. Yeah, and the way that they're kind of set up. So it's a deep zone, and teams will run that against the Chiefs often because Andy Reid loves his go routes and he loves his deep routes.
So this was kind of one of those okay plays. Probably a good play by the defense considering pass
It
plays,
was,
are very, um, you know, go big or go home. So the thing is here, this guy, he's kind of playing off because he knows, you know, once Mahomes throws, his job is to kind of crash down and tackle him, which he doesn't do a great job of.
I mean, Kelsey's a big man, so
Yeah. And also Mahomes just, gets it
Mahomes
back.
stood there as long as he could, hoping for something to develop. Too, watching that he threw it at the last possible second because there really wasn't much. So it was a good play, good call by the defense. There wasn't a lot of movement with the Chiefs um, offense. I'm wondering if maybe it was more of a man coverage because the way that the tight ends moved there to kind of like curl up. A lot of times when you see that curl up, it gives a little bit more space and causes a bit more confusion. So I'm thinking it was called for man coverage, but it looks like more zone. And I think that, you know, you look at the three people around Hill right now. I'm sorry. This will always
Like right here.
This is how scared they are of Tyreek Hill. And I understand like zone coverage, and he does a good job of sitting in the spot there too. But that inside linebacker should probably be more so on Watkins' side and in that way,
Here.
just due to the underneath route, because Mahomes would have a good shot. Again, he doesn't have a good shot, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, they're just all the attention's drawn over there. Like even the defender that should be worried about Nick Keiser coming in the back.
So what do you think in terms of like whenever Reed had this play on the chalkboard or the whiteboard, what was he kind of hoping would happen here?
Okay, so pause it here. So if you draw lines on where the routes went, you had two wide receivers that kind of came down and kind of came across like that. And then you have the two other ones that from the inside work their way out. So again, if you have that man coverage, you get a little bit of that automatic congestion there. That does that, which would free up typically either at least the underneath route, but hopefully the top route, depending on where they're covering from. And Mahomes could have an easy throw. Well, I wouldn't say easy throw over the top, but a throw over the top. It's not the greatest of route concepts, especially considering that, if you're not playing man, then you don't really have too much going on there.
Yeah. But it seems like almost he would have been better off coming to Tyreek Hill's side because Kaiser has so much more space here. Although part of it could be just because Mahomes is looking the other way, so he's cheating up where Mahomes is looking well. He knows that if Mahomes does decide to throw this way, he has a little bit more time to come down. But
it's another across the body throw too. There's not really a good option either way. I think that Mahomes trusts
Kelsey a lot more.
Kelsey a lot more than he trusts Kaiser, which makes sense. Especially as we saw things from Kaiser later on in the season.
He's back, so hopefully he improves a bit. Okay, anything else you want to say about this play? Seems kind of
it for that one.
All right, this is an incredibly long drive, by the way. So
so we're in for the long haul in this one. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So it kind of looks like cover one maybe, although he's playing 21 here is kind of playing deepish, although you always kind of have to circle Hill because that kind of tells you, okay, that's probably why he's playing so deep. He's part of the reason why.
So if you were in man coverage right now, the way my gut feeling would be set up is you have your outside cornerback to the left on Kelsey. Yeah. And then the way the formation's set up, the next person over is technically eligible as well. So you probably have your linebacker 41. I think that's Cushing. If that's still their 41 on him. And then depending on which way the running back bolts, it would be either of the inside linebackers, depending on which way he would go.
One of these two.
Yeah, that would be my guess. And honestly, on those two, I think it's a switch off between those two, depending on how they break. Because the outside person is hanging back so far, if Hill breaks to the outside, he's got Hill. If Harmon breaks to the inside, or breaks to the outside, then he's got Hartman. So it depends on what.
Where the part of the reason he's so far back is because if Hill goes kind of like this to the inside, this safety can pick him up. But if he goes to the outside, it's easier for him to pick him up.
Correct. Yeah, and you'll always basically see their safeties on the side of Hill, whatever side of the hill or whatever side of the line. Hill's see their safety kind of cheat.
Yeah, I mean the ball is on this hash mark, and yet the safety is closer to this hash than he is to this hash.
And
so
honestly,
he's really far to the right.
In this indication too, it's not even as bad as I've seen before. I've seen it before where they'll put like 3 guys on one side and Hill on the other one, and the safety will still be like to the far side of the hash, like not even in between the hashes, but over the top or where Hill is, because they do not trust people one-on-one with Hill as they shouldn't.
The thing is, I was in marching band. I didn't play football. I played football in 8th grade, but I was mainly in marching band. So I kind of think in terms of marching bands, like these hashes are so much narrower than the high school hashes. There's a certain distance here and here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, enough of my high school days. Oh. So looks like an actual run play this time. That's kind of a nice play by either.
I think that's Williams in there, but I could be wrong. It might be. I think that's 3.
It kind of looks like it almost could be a read option because Mahomes is kind of.
He's eyeing where Kelsey's at right now.
Yeah.
But they're cheating down, so he knows he doesn't have that, so he hands the ball off. That's a possibility. It could also just be a straight run. The way it's set up nowadays, it's kind of hard to tell outside of the quarterback's eyes. He could have been also just trying to keep people in with him eyeing. But it's a good run. Nice little hole there. I'm excited to see the inside line because that's the first hole that we've seen. I know we've done, how many drives have we done? Ahead of it?
Third drive, yeah.
Third drive, and neither one of us found a good NFL-sized hole for a running to go through with this line. It's been bad, folks. Like, I cannot stress. And this is one of the better running games for the Chiefs.
I mean, look how much he has to work to kind of. I mean, it was a good run, and there's a little bit of a hole, but it was 6, 7, 8 yards. So a good run, but he still kind of had to earn his paycheck there. Yeah, it's Williams.
Williams has really good eyes, and he's got a big bulldozer's body, but has very good vision. I'm excited he's back. I saw also miss other Williams, but so he cuts to the outside a little bit there, and then kind of forces people to cut in, forces that the person playing off of Wiley there to kind of force a swim move to the outside.
Yeah, so he kind of. Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah. You kind of see he has an option of which hole to hit, and this is what we talked about with running back vision, is the ability. Jamal Charles was fantastic at this. The ability to not just see where the holes are currently, but where people are going to be in the future.
Also, before we get a little bit too far, we explained this last time, but since we weren't recording, what the gaps are, so we can use the terminology. So there's the A gap, B gap, C gap. So those gaps refer to, here's a center. So each one on each side of the center is A. I should probably just write A. That's an A.
Mm-hmm.
This is a better A. And then the next gap over is a B. Gosh. Okay. B. And then the next gap over on the outside is C.
And then on the other side, the tight end is technically a D gap. And it goes on, so on and so forth, if you had enough
Yep.
players to line up from one side of the field to the other.
So in this case, he went kind of to the A gap.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't understand too is that these gaps do technically move. They aren't stationary, so it's not like right here, right there, but it's where the blocks are designed to go. So if the whole line pulls left, then those gaps, like there, the gaps pull left.
Now the A gap.
Yeah, A gap, B gap.
So in terms of, I guess, why this play worked, um, in terms of, well, you were talking bad about the line. Do you think the offensive line did a pretty good job here? Is there anybody where you're saying like,
Yes and no. Let's go back just a little bit again. I'm gonna go back ahead of the cut. So they got the beat right here on everybody a little bit, so it's a good jump by everyone. Kind of they're maintaining their gaps, they're maintaining the discipline. We played a little bit farther forward, so pause here. 77 there is technically beat on the inside a little bit on his back, but he's not doing a bad job. Don't get me wrong. It's a pretty decent block, and we'll see what Williams sees here. He sees the outside. He sees Watts on the outside, so he cuts in.
now this is the B gap here. I was just way off.
So, and then Schwartz actually does a good job of not only blocking his man, but getting in the way of J.J. Watt, too.
He's kind of,
yeah,
we have two guys here.
Two players instead of two players blocking each other. That's not. Anyways, so Williams cuts in as, go back just a little bit again. I'm sorry.
A little bit.
Yeah. We'll play, and I'll just
go back a little bit with these controls for people who are watching.
So if you see 77 again was beat on that left side, Williams sees that. He also sees Watt crashing down a second earlier. And instead of just making his movement towards the other side, what he does is he cuts to the left and then cuts back right. What it does is it gets him, one, a little bit more space between J.J. Watt and himself, the one person that's not being blocked on the play. Two, it forces the player on 77 to commit to that side. And it also freezes the linebacker that Ryder is blocking right there as well.
So,
and allows himself a bit more space to work with in that gap that he knows he's going to. It's a really good read by Williams and executed to perfection by him.
Do you think 77, since he kind of got beat on the inside, was he doing the right thing and kind of being like, well, I got beat to the inside, so might as well just keep pushing him that way?
Exactly. I'm not sure where the gap was originally designed to. I think was to the outside. Again, it's grown 300-pound men, that you're trying to move. So I'm guessing that, momentum-wise, he could still just be getting beat. It happens in an instant.
So my next question is when we kind of go forward a little bit, it seems like, is this Reader here? He kind of gets beat a little bit, and that's kind of like, it could have been a touchdown or like a huge play, but he kind of gets beat, which makes it just a merely pretty good play. So
yes, he does get beat.
So see there how he just kind of gets pushed out of the way, and so now he's just kind of blocking air.
That's right. I think the fault line really was 77 there, because I think the gap was designed to go to the A gap on the right side. So right there, that hole right there. Because the way
that's kind of why he's just like, well, he's over here now, so I'm good.
Yeah. So he's like, I just need to block him and seal it off. And look, like if 77 seals his assignment there, that hole is absolutely huge, and William just runs right through it.
It's supposed to go here. So 77 keeps this guy over here. Then Reader actually does a good job in keeping him over here.
Yes, I wouldn't say it's a good job, but
an adequate job.
I mean, the guy just shoves him off, but Williams makes a good secondary cut. Again, that player's a little bit off balance because of the way that Williams cut it first to kind of freeze him, so he wasn't technically in the correct position that allows Williams to use his physical strength to bounce off of him. But if that gap had been opened, it looks like that's Wiley. If Wiley had been able to seal that gap, that I think it could have gone for a much larger gain. Although it was a nice read by Williams, and honestly, everybody outside of Wiley, and I don't want to, I'd call it a push for Reader on that one. Or Ryder. How do you pronounce his name? I always get it wrong.
I don't know. I really only ever read their names, so I'm always pronouncing their names. Okay. So 1st and 10 after that play. So kind of.
I do want to reiterate too, that was the best blocking. Like, I'm critiquing that quite a bit. That was the best blocking for a run we've seen all game so far.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, it kind of looks. The thing is, there's here and here, so it kind of looks like almost a zone because, let's see. We got to remember, Hill is here, so it could be he's just way off Hill, and then it's kind of like this, or it could be. I mean, if I had to guess, it seems like a cover 2. And then zone, 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 zone.
Possibly. You could also have a cover 3, depending on where that's at. It's kind of an odd alignment because you have 3 wide receivers to one side, so naturally the defense alignment also shifts
To that side.
over to that side as well, unless you have Hill on the opposite side, obviously.
Yeah. Kelsey here, so there's basically one receiver over here, and then the running back here. So there's really only one guy over here.
And you have your outside linebackers, you have your 2 inside, and Kelsey's the one person on the line that's eligible.
Okay.
Let's see. So they get close. They pretend like they're gonna press Tyreek, and they back off. So it looks like you're right in the fact that it's either too high zone. Again, my guess would be.
Look how it's sort of too high zone shifted, like
Yeah, and again,
shifted over here.
And a lot of times we'll talk about that, but again, they shift due to alignments. You'll also see a shifting due to depth. So it's not necessarily the underneath isn't always in the same spot. Depends on personnel and where everybody is at. Again, my guess is zone because of the way that's 26 and 41 pass Kelsey off there instead of just a man underneath with 2 high safety.
He's kind of coming like this. Kind of looking at this screenshot, I'd be like, oh, Kelsey's right here. Get it to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what happens. So let's see. That was.
Oh, yeah, that was the bad throw by Mahomes. I remember that one.
That's kind of.
It's a bad read by Mahomes. It's supposed to go to Kelsey. He's going for the big shot with Tyreek. So let's pause right before he throws it.
So.
There we go.
Come on, pop.
So wait a minute. Actually, okay.
So it's a little bit after Mahomes threw it. Let's go back a little bit because it's not fair. The defender, NFL defenders are so fast that even a split second later, they can react to the throw.
Pause it when right here.
Yes.
So that's when he makes his break. He's got good leverage.
Is this Hill right here?
Road there. Honestly, he probably should have thrown it a second sooner. But they're shifting. It just so happens the cornerback sees Mahomes' eyes and knows where to go as well. Again, I think this play was designed to get the ball to Kelsey. He would have had lots of open field, which is why 41's pointing at him. But you see why Mahomes, he's got the confidence that's a very, very tight window. He's got the confidence to make it. Bad decision, though, overall.
Yeah, probably because he throws it to Kelsey, that's probably...
That's quite a bit of yards. He's probably got at least 8 or 9.
Yeah, and it's first... What down was it?
First down.
Yeah, it's 1st and 10, so if you get, 5 or 6 yards here, then... if he could almost get a first down there. He'd at least have a chance at it. But even
I think that if Mahomes is going to make that throw, he should have started it right before Hill makes his cut. You saw previously, unfortunately we didn't get the recording, but there was the touchdown where basically there's three people on Kelsey and Mahomes makes the throw because he has an understanding of like before the cut
Let's
where
bring it
Kelsey.
up really quick because that was just an unbelievable play, and so
It's an unbelievable play, and I think it shows the yin and the yang of kind of this throwing and how precise Mahomes has to be consistently to make these NFL throws.
Yeah. So what happens?
Dissect the coverage or anything like that. We'll just kind of.
Yeah, we'll do this one just really quickly. So what happens? See, there's Kelsey motioning. What happens is Robinson goes like this, Kelsey goes like this, and then Kelsey's like here, and there's like a million defenders right here. Mahomes throws it, and you'll pause it whenever he throws it, and you'll see it. There's like seems like there's no way. So
He starts to throw in motion.
Starting his throw right now. It is.
He's already.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. It's just. So it looks like it's going to Robinson because he's going this way. There's wide open, but it's actually going to Kelsey. Like Mahomes is starting his throw. Kelsey is right here. There are three defenders between him and where he catches the ball right here.
And you see him knowing exactly where Kelsey's going and exactly where the space is going to be for it. And he believes he has the same thing. He's just a split second too late to make that read on Hill, I think.
Yeah.
Could have been a very big completion if he had thrown just a hair earlier.
Yeah. So
kind of give you the comparison of how not even like seconds, but milliseconds these throws have to be in order to get a completion.
So kind of same thing here, where here's Hill, and he's going to go this. So if Mahomes lets go of it now, there could be a window. Or maybe like
read is still like you can see on Kelsey.
Yeah.
And he recognizes it now, and it's just a hair too late.
Yeah.
Because again, if you see where the ball went to, it would have been an easy, catch just a few feet closer.
And Hill kind of gives up a little bit on it too, but
yeah, I don't think he's really expecting it there. I think he also realizes that if he continues his run, he's going to get nailed by 34 at that point. It wasn't a good throw by Mahomes at all, but I understand what he was trying to do and how that's his aggressive nature. Normally, he's a little bit more able to kind of, as you saw in the play previously, kind of have a better handle on that.
And also, this is the first game with that kind of COVID offseason, so it's not completely shocking that, both sides had a little bit of rust. And it's also the first game of the season, the Thursday game, so there's emotion, so that's kind of sorry.
Let's go back. I want to start playing a game with you and the viewers. So pause it here, or once the play comes up, once the alignment's kind of set for a second before he goes into motion. All right, which side of the field is Hill on? Without looking at the wide receivers.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. And see, this guy is way off, so that's probably Hill right there. Or here's Hill right here, but
we talking about that switch off.
It's kind of the same thing I was saying before, where it's because they can pass it off to the safety, but he's so far back that you can tell that Hill is on this side of the ball.
Yeah, if you want to know what side, we talked about this a little bit. If you want to know what side Hill's on, look to where the deep safety's at.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, that now the ball is on this hash mark, and yet the deep safety is all the way on this hash mark.
And there are two of them, but again, they lean more so towards that side, even though the play is technically on the other one. But anyways.
Okay, let's see. So Kelsey motions over, and actually at first it looked like it was going to be zone, but then 20 came over. So this guy was over here, and he kind of ran over here.
That's going to be one of these plays.
It's going to be an exciting one. We saw one frame of it, and you can already tell.
Yeah.
Because Kelsey motioned this way, and now he's coming back. Let's do it slow.
Oh, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire run. Very nice. Ducks it outside. He had a tendency to do that at LSU quite a bit, to bounce runs outside.
Oh, that was kind of a awkward hit.
So let's watch from the inside to see what happens there. All right, so they motion Kelsey out, and then they motion him back again. So that gets a lot of the, if you pause it there, a lot of the linebackers and safety moving one way, and the ball gets handed off towards the other.
Or at least they're kind of paused.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're kind of like, oh, what should I do here? And then this guy's kind of coming this way. So when Clyde kind of comes this way.
Mm-hmm. Comes across. So we'll see kind of where the blocks take him. There's a good, I don't want to say it's the hole because, again, you have him coming across.
A little bit of a hold.
So again, 77 Wiley with the missed block / hold there. So again, one missed block really could have messed things up, but it's a good play by the running back here. So again, if he can just hold that block right there, that's a big old hole that's a big old NFL hole right there between the A gap there.
Yeah.
They did a good job of sealing off the backside, getting players to bite one end so he has more space to move. But again, he gets beat on his inside shoulder once again. However, because of Swartz block on Watt, who we see him time and time again in this film review, is able to recognize what's going on and kind of be in a spot to disrupt things. He's still able to kind of hold him up, and he lets him beat him kind of to his outside shoulder there. Swartz does, because he knows that the running back's going to be uphill, and there's not a risk really too much. He commits a little bit more to the left, to his inside shoulder.
Okay, so here's a question: is this a hold or is it?
There, it could have been. I think with that block from 77, that you could fit through it, but it just was not a good one. That's where it was definitely designed to go to. Was in between there. I think it kind of was designed to give him an option between the two. I think they were hoping that Cunningham would also be 41, would be pulled more to the left as well for a second earlier. But it gives him a nice outside hole. However, Wiley just fumbles the block on the inside. If he contains outside, that's going for possibly longer than what it did. Because again, you see Helaire makes the jump cut there. He recognizes where his defenders are. I think he hesitates inside because he sees Wiley being beat. But it's just his agility and his speed to kind of bounce that out again and get outside. This is why I'm so excited about Edwards-Helaire again. Because even with this poor blocking, he got yards, and he was able to manufacture a lot of them on his own. I think his inside vision needs still a little bit of work, and that was something I saw coming out of LSU a bit. Again, he has a tendency to kind of force things outside, but he's really, really good outside. When he cuts outside, it's typically going for a long, long gain. And I think this year I saw him definitely working on his inside reads, because in the NFL you can't just bounce out all the time. There's just not enough time that's allowed for that.
So
he could bulldoze right there and get a few yards. He elects instead to try to go outside, knowing that, realizes that he's probably going to only get a few yards there, and is able to kind of cut it out again once he sees J.J. Watt kind of cut inside of it.
So what could be, because this is a really good run play, or at least the result was. So what could the Texans have done better to have defended this?
One, I think it's about where the players are going. They did a pretty good job, honestly. If Watt stays inside, and I was complimenting him earlier, but Swartz is definitely a tough right tackle to take. At that point in the
much
season,
that he got injured. That's such a huge loss.
It was. Again, they do a good job of beating Wiley on the inside to try to take that gap. I mean, I guess the linebackers could have cut in a little sooner. They were frozen by Kelsey with the coverage. But again, in that instance, they beat you with the pass. a lot of defense is about also guessing right too. It's about one-on-one matchups and being able to make the right split-second decision.